Studios. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that we do, Jalen?
We give the people what they want.
Paul George got what he wanted in a extension of his contract. Kyrie Irving is sneak dissing us in the media on social media, but we start with Thursday Night Football, where the Patriots, fresh off of beating the Chargers 45-0, got waxed last night and ran all over by that man, Cam Akers. What did you think about Akers just slicing up the Patriots defense?
That his last name is Akers. There's a lot of greenery out there, and I know you remember the show Green Acres. Is the place
Green Acres.
Putting up big numbers, the most by a rookie for their franchise since, my God, the bust, Detroit's own Jerome Bettis. It was great to see them have that ball control and get a big-time win against the Pats.
Jalen, we always talked about this year being an audition year for Cam Newton. He signed a one-year deal at a small number, basically putting his skills on display for the rest of the league, trying to get a new starting job at a different team, likely not the Patriots next season. However, he's been not performing that well. While he did beat the Chargers 45-0 last week, he only threw for 69 yards. Didn't look great last night at all. What do you think about Cam's year with the Patriots?
I think there's a duality happening. So you can look at their record and be like, wow, I am kind of surprised that they have that many wins with so many people opting out. And we know about their challenges offensively and with their weapons. What about that time they got into the red zone and basically tried to run Cam right up the middle like 2 or 3 times? It just seems like they don't trust him as a passer. That's something that we've talked about on this show as well. And so this audition isn't going well, Jacoby. I think at some point you're going to have to give Stidham an opportunity to see what he has. You know that Cam was only going to be there 1 year anyway. If I'm Bill Belichick, I do something that I haven't done. I scout the league, and I actually get me a veteran quarterback. Did Dak Prescott sign in Dallas yet? Did that happen yet?
No, he did not.
Okay, so I believe, like you mentioned, this is Cam's only year with the Patriots. Sadly, it may be his final year until he proves himself again, being a starting quarterback for a contending caliber team.
He really has. His ability to throw the ball, as you've mentioned all season long, it just seems like he throws it into the ground, and he does it over and over again, and you saw it last night as well. He got benched for Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham took Cam Newton's position last night in the game. It's a tough season for Cam. Wish him the best moving forward, but I do not think he will move forward with the New England Patriots. Now, Jalen, you and I are about to move forward because there's a huge game in the AFC this weekend. You know I'm a die-easy Bills fan. You know I picked up the Bills this year. And you know I'm rooting for the Bills against the now not undefeated Steelers. Jalen, Bills, Steelers, what are you keying on for this one?
You already know since Griselda start linking up with Benny the Butcher, West Side Gun, and my guy Boldy James. You know I'm 90 East to 94 all day. So I'm die easy with your Bills.
Yes.
But the Steelers are coming off of a loss. They had so many drop passes, the most in the NFL. Big Ben threw for over 50 times, and they only rushed the ball for less than 10 yards. They're going to have to get their balance back. I'm actually rolling with you, David Jacoby. I think the Bills at home with Stephon Diggs and Moss out of the backfield with Singletary, find a way to give the Steelers their second loss in consecutive weeks.
We always talk about the Steelers' weapons, and they have Claypool and Washington and Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster. But we don't talk about the drop passes. Look at the numbers, Jalen. It's very significant. It changes games and ends possessions with their drop passes. They have 31 drop passes. That's 10 more than second place. They had 7 drops on Monday against the football team that's called the football team. That is absolutely significant. You cannot blame Big Ben for that. I have the Bills winning this one and taking control of a higher seed in the AFC East playoff picture. But Jalen, that's not the only big game. This one's personal to me because me and you are close. And I know you care about your legacy, your namesake. The fact there are so many young athletes named Jalen, I know that each one of the Jalens has a piece of your heart, and mine too. And I really think the Eagles are doing a disservice by playing Jalen Hurts against the best defense in the NFL. Please, Doug Peterson, do not put this man out to start at quarterback. We're going to have a show on Monday, Jalen. We're not going to be talking about how well he played. We're not. We're going to be showing him getting sacked, showing him getting intercepted, showing him getting hit. Why are they doing this to your namesake, Jalen Hurts?
Here's a prop bet I want to give you going into the weekend. Who's going to have more passing yards, Hurt or Hill? Jacoby, you know you can't underestimate the power of Jalen's.
Yes,
I agree with you on the fact that he's going against the Saints, a stout defense, and he's in his first year. They're going to give him a lot of looks. They may confuse him some, but that's where his teammates around him got to make some plays. They need the defense to make some plays. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, we know that they're not the favorite against the Saints, but if they lose, it may not necessarily be because of the performance of Hurts.
Well, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of the Saints defense running to their own end zone and taking pictures in front of that camera. You're going to see a lot of Jalen Hurts ending up on the ground after getting sacked. I'm very concerned about this. I think that they should not start Hurts. They should keep the veteran Carson Wentz in there, who can read defenses better, has more experience, and who you need to see prove himself against this defense. Do not put a rookie in his first starting job out in front of the Saints defense.
We go shock the world.
So you think on Monday's show, we're going to be celebrating an Eagles victory over the Saints? Is that what you think is going to happen on Monday's show? Is that what you really think is going to happen on Monday's show?
I wouldn't bet on that. I'm just betting on Jalen's. I wouldn't bet on that, though. I
know you love Jalen's, and I love Jalen's too, and that's why I think they should not start him. They should put him in a position to succeed. Well, Paul George has been put in a position to succeed in Los Angeles. I was surprised. They gave him a 5-year, $226 million maximum extension. He did not come off an MVP caliber season. He did not come off playoff P. He was pandemic P. Jalen, are you surprised by the fact that the Clippers gave him a max extension in this environment after last year?
I'm going to go West Coast and give you some Chuck Taylor and put you up on the game. So a few things happening here. Number one, you don't want to go into a season where your two best players can both opt out after the year, especially after they just lost a 3-1 lead and got bounced out of the bubble. So if you can lock one of those guys up, you do it. Number two, do you know how much they gave up to get Paul George? Do you realize how much they gave up to get Paul George? You can't just allow him to walk after 2 seasons when you're giving up that many picks and that many players. But number 3 is the most important thing I want to point out.
What's up?
Kawhi Leonard's happiness and leverage. If you have Paul George under contract, that may be reason for Kawhi to want to stay, depending on how well or not so well they do in this year's playoffs. And if he doesn't go well and they don't feel like that they're a dynamic duo moving forward, you know what this deal gives the Clippers flexibility to do? Trade a top 15 player while he still has multiple years left on his contract. That's what happens. We just saw a swap with John Wall happening with Russell Westbrook. They both have big cap numbers. That's what happens after you play a year or two of these deals. It gives him the security to know that he's going to get his top dollar, but it gives them the flexibility and the leverage to either keep him or move him.
Jalen, I have a question. They gave Paul George this max extension. Something tells me, and tell me if I'm reading too much into this, they also offered this to Kawhi Leonard. You wouldn't just offer this to George. You would also offer this to Kawhi, and somebody tells me that Kawhi was offered this and politely declined. Am I reading too much into this by saying that maybe Kawhi Leonard is not long for the Clippers?
I think that you should look at it the way you look at Giannis' situation. And you make sure that you acknowledge it really is not going to be a game changer for Giannis to sign the deal this year versus next year. But if you're Paul George and you played the way you played in the bubble and you struggled in closeout games in Indiana, OKC, and the Clippers, you're not a finals MVP like Kawhi Leonard. You're not a regular season back-to-back MVP like Giannis. You take that bread. You take that bread. And that's exactly what he did.
Well, good for Paul George. Now $226 million richer. Congratulations, Mr. George, and Clippers fans, because let's be honest, the Clippers franchise does not have a long history of winning and having star players on the roster, and they have that now with Paul George for the foreseeable future. Jalen, sometimes there's videos on the internet that we need to break down in detail. It's time for us to go to the table. Jalen, I know you have not seen this video, so I want you to commentate it, okay? You tell me what's happening with the aunties in the foot race, okay? Tell me what's happening.
Well, first off, it's daytime, so it was some mimosas involved. You know what I mean? It's like, we're going to race this thing out. That's what we'll do. Some Bloody Marys, some eggs. And then before you know, it's like, I can outrace you. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. And they get on the line and they do it, and they both fall down, dog, like the movie Friday. They both take a tumble like Humpty Dumpty, and they go stumbling down. Down.
The video of the race is interesting, but I think what's more interesting is the conversation that led to the race. I really want to know what led to this event. Like, how long did they argue? Why did they even get up to race in the first place? She got her sneakers on. Like, did she change shoes? What event is this? What are they doing? Shout to those two, and shout to you for commentating it for us. Jalen, Kyrie Irving is getting cryptic on social media, and the Chiefs have a tough test against the Dolphins. We have that much more waiting for you. Stay tuned. You're watching in the South Street, Seaport District of Manhattan, and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, regrettably, we are handing you the wheel. You have control of the program. You decide, but we discuss. It is time for Keep It Moving.
Tang.
If you want to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, me, you, and Method Man jump in the minivan and keep it moving. And we start with a cryptic message from Kyrie Irving on social media. Kyrie did not talk to the media and was fined $25,000 and will be fined for each time he doesn't comply with the media rules. He put this post on social media, and at the bottom you see there he says, "I do not talk to pawns. My attention is worth more." Jalen, what do you think about his response to not talking to the media?
Well, the one thing about being a professional athlete, also an endorser of products, is you're going to be required, in theory, based on your job, to talk to the media and or do posts on social media to promote the things that you're being a part of. But with that being said, here's the point I want to make, and I've talked to you about that for years. I wish players could have a determination of where this fine money actually went. The NBA does an amazing job of giving back to the community like no other sports entity. But if players could now control where that fine money went, I think that'll further strengthen the relationships that these teams have with their actual communities that they play in. That money should stay in Brooklyn. I've said that for years. If Rasheed Wallace is getting texts for my Pistons, that fine money should stay in Detroit. And imagine at the end of the year, if there's a blank check at the presentation back to the community with one or two players present, you put on the big screen and show them and talk to them about anger management and or how to deal with adversity. So everybody wins. The league wins, the community wins, and the donation happens. That's going to take place eventually. I'm going to continue to be a champion for it.
And I think that's a really good point. You've been saying that for years. But one point I want to make about Kyrie Irving is I think in the media, people clown him for the world is flat thing. And he puts posts up like this, and the media is going to say this and that about him. But one thing that Kyrie Irving does, he gives back to the community. Google it. Look up what Kyrie Irving has done in philanthropic ways over his career. He has done so much to help the communities that he has played in, that I want to give him a shout on this day in which he called the media pawns, and the media will respond in kind. Jalen, we have a big game in the AFC between the best team in football, the Chiefs, and the Miami Dolphins. Jalen, can the Dolphins defense slow down Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Is it me or the Chiefs playing the game in fast forward and everybody else playing in regular speed or slower? Is it just me? Like, is the cheater really like that fast? Is Travis Kelce like really getting open almost every time? Are they like amongst the league leaders in yards? Is Patrick Mahomes throwing at so many arm angles and running the ball and the best dual threat we have in the game? This is going to be a tough weekend for the Dolphins.
It's going to be a tough weekend for the Dolphins. The Chiefs have established themselves as the best team in football, and I believe they will show that on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern. Another game that I want to discuss is the Jets and the Seahawks. Keep moving.
We're not going to talk about the Jets. Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Couple teams in the NFC fighting for playoff position, the Vikings and the Bucks. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
We'll hit the brakes on this one. The Vikings and the Bucks both trying to establish themselves as true playoff players in the NFC. Who do you think wins this one?
Your two guys on defense, Jacoby and White.
White
you
and
haven't
David.
talked about them since the beginning of the season. We need them to make some plays. We talk so much about the Bucs offense, and yes, Brady's been the worst quarterback in the league throwing it 20-plus yards, and we don't know if Mike Evans is or isn't going to play. They need to run the ball more, but their defense must also play better.
Jalen, this game is bigger than you thought it would be when you see it on the schedule, and that is the one between our Cardinals and the New York Football
we're going to hit the brakes
Giants.
on this one.
Hit the brakes on this one. It is going down to this. The Giants are trying to stay alive and on top of the NFC East. Can they beat the Cardinals, who have struggled lately?
This got to be a get-back game for the Cardinals. I wanted to hit the brakes on this game because I always like to acknowledge teams that outplay expectations. And once you lose Saquon Barkley or Danny Dimes misses a game, you're supposed to lose those, and they find ways to do that for the Giants. For the Cardinals, the same thing once you bring D-Hop over. So it's going to be a game to see if the Cardinals, to me, can ascend to a squad that can legitimately make the playoffs, or they're going to be a team that just makes incremental steps this year.
It's baffling to me that were the Giants to win this game, they would have the same record as the Cardinals. Again, the expectations. We always say happiness is a function of realistic expectations. The Cardinals are low-key underperforming expectations, while the Giants are overperforming expectations, especially after they lost Saquon Barkley so early in the season. I think the Giants win this one in the Meadowlands in New Jersey on Sunday. Remember where you heard it. Jalen and Jacoby, they're going to beat the Cardinals. Jalen, I don't know why, but the Lions are also playing on Sunday. I don't know why they're still playing football.
Hit the brakes.
But the Lions are playing on Sunday against the Packers. Jalen, can they keep this within like 17 points? Can they keep it down to like 20 points?
I'm going to make this quick. You know, a lot of media gets so caught up in storylines. And if the Lions win this week, people are going to wake up on Monday and complain about the Packers not drafting a wide receiver in the first round and why Aaron Rodgers don't have weapons. When Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, along with Aaron Rodgers, are an actual big three. Is there a better big three? Is there a better big three?
Jones and Adams are top 5 at their position in the entire league. Yet he doesn't have weapons. Weapons. Well, we know what's going to happen in this one. The Packers are going to roll and beat the Lions by at least 20 points. And Jalen, we also have a big fight this weekend from your guy, Shakur Stevenson. We'll hit the brakes on this one. Can Shakur Stevenson stay undefeated against Clary?
Yes, he can. Shout to the OG Jay Prince, doing a terrific job of nurturing this young man who's a friend of the show. And like I told you when we brought him on, Jacoby, he's going to be that guy that's the face of boxing. He's going to be someone that continues to ascend. He reminds me of a modern day, you ready for this? Sugar Ray Leonard. That's who he reminds me of.
Great. Jalen, there's also another huge game this weekend. You versus me in the Jalen and Jacoby Fantasy Football Playoffs.
Michigan, Ohio State.
Preview that and much more. Stay tuned. You're watching Jalen and Jacoby. NBA preseason action returns to ESPN tonight at 10:30. You can watch the Kings take on the Trailblazers and the start of the 2021 season in the NBA. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. And on this Friday, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful weekend because it's a very special weekend as it is the beginning of fantasy football playoffs. And it is me against you in our J&J Fantasy League. And I just want to tell the people something, that Jalen Rose will draft his own players. He drafted Matthew Stafford. He drafted DeAndre Swift. He drafted Galladay. He drafted Hawkinson. Jalen is that guy that just picks all of his favorite players from his own team. And that is why you're going to lose to me this weekend in fantasy football. Do not draft players from your favorite team. Don't draft with emotion.
I'm 6-7. Look like you were 10-3. And watch my squad rise up and knock you out of the playoffs this week. And in my other league, just so you know, I made the JV playoffs, but I can't front. I've never been so proud of a team under 500. I really
more
haven't.
victories? We're doing more victories now? I just want everyone to know that Jalen Rose pays 5 figures to play fantasy football in his other league. 5 figures. And one of us will be knocked out in the playoffs, and it is now time to turn our attention to one of the most famous knockouts in the history of film. And I just want to say an RIP to Tommy Tiny Lister, gentleman we know as Debo. Jalen, your remembrance and your thoughts about this great man.
I love Tommy. I got a chance to run into him so many times on the West Coast and in our travels as entertainers and public figures. And the character Debo was who he was on screen, but off screen, he was an awesome man, and may he rest in peace. Prayers to his family and friends.
We'll be back on Monday. Enjoy your